Hey, listen, buddy, I got a handcuff. Keep your hands off. Oh! What the hell's your problem? Help me! Brian, relax. Here.
Problem?
Louisville, Kentucky, Friday, May 10th, 2024. It's just before 11 p.m. when dispatchers at the Louisville Metro Police Department's 3rd Division receive an unusual 911 call from a residence in the 4700 block of Crawford Avenue. The caller, identified as 43-year-old Nicholas Pierce, reports a theft in progress, but there's more. He tells emergency call takers that he is armed with a knife. Units are immediately dispatched. Officers respond cautiously, the gravity of the situation clear in the dispatcher's tone. Radio traffic captures it in real time. Male caller reports a theft, advising he's armed with a knife. Repeat, armed with a knife. Body-worn cameras record the officers as they arrive on scene. It's late at night. Streetlights cast pale halos across the quiet neighborhood. Officers park just short of the address, spotlights cutting across the front yard. They announce their presence calm but commanding. Moments later, the front door opens. Nicholas Pierce steps out, a large knife gripped tightly in his right hand. The footage shows the glint of the blade under the porch light. Officers immediately begin giving clear commands. Drop the knife, put it down. But Pierce doesn't comply. Instead, he takes several steps forward. His posture is tense, his breathing heavy. He mutters something unintelligible, then continues advancing toward the officers. Officers spread out cautiously, their boots crunching on the damp pavement as they establish distance between themselves and the suspect. The glow from nearby streetlights casts long shadows across the front lawn. Their flashlights cut through the darkness, steady beams trained on the man standing in the driveway, Nicholas Pierce, his body tense, a large, serrated knife glinting faintly in his right hand. Their voices overlap, urgent, layered, and echoing across the quiet residential street. Drop it. We can help you, but you need to drop the knife. The words repeat, sharp and rhythmic, breaking the stillness. But Pierce doesn't respond. His eyes are wide, unfocused, his breathing fast, chest heaving in the cold night air. Instead of complying, he keeps walking forward, slow and deliberate. At first, the knife raised at an angle just below his shoulder. Then, in a flash of motion, he charges. Bodycam footage captures the rapid sequence, the officer's sudden backward steps, the shifting of light and shadow, the sound of panic threading through the commands. Someone yells, "Taser!" and a bright spark flashes through the frame. The electric crack cuts the air, followed by the sharp hum of wires, but Pierce doesn't go down. He jolts, grimaces, and stiffens briefly, his muscles tensing, but he keeps coming. The surge isn't enough to stop him. One officer reloads, shouting again, "Taser! Taser!" A second deployment follows another arc of electricity, another crackling hiss. Still, the effect is minimal. Pierce staggers but remains upright, his grip on the knife unbroken. He lets out a guttural yell, incoherent, raw, while somewhere behind him, his dog begins barking wildly, the sound bouncing off the walls of the small house. The front door stands open, a single light from inside spilling onto the porch. Officers shout again, desperation threading through their voices. "Don't do it. Drop the knife. We can get you help. Just drop it." But Pierce ignores them. His shoulders hunch, and he lunges forward a second time, knife glinting under the light. In that instant, 3 LMPD officers fire their service weapons. The muzzle flashes ignite the darkness, sharp bursts of light, followed by the concussive sound of multiple gunshots. The bursts echo down Crawford Avenue, bouncing between parked cars and nearby homes. Pierce stumbles mid-step. For a split second, he seems to falter, then regains his footing. He staggers backward toward the open doorway, clutching the knife still in his hand. Officers continue shouting commands, but the air remains heavy, suspended between action and aftermath. Seconds drag by. Only the dog's relentless barking, the low hum of police radios, and Pierce's labored breathing break the silence. His movements slow, his grip weakening. Finally, his arm begins to drop the knife, lowering slightly, but his posture remains defiant. Each time officers shift forward, he jerks the blade upward again, forcing them to keep their distance. The standoff stretches tense, uneven breaths, and shouted commands filling the night. As more backup units arrive, the neighborhood transforms. The once quiet block now glows red and blue, sirens flickering off the wet asphalt and the sides of nearby houses. Neighbors peek from windows, silhouettes framed in the faint interior light, watching in disbelief as officers take up positions across the yard. For a long, anxious minute, no one speaks, every movement deliberate, every step measured. Minutes later, officers find a small opening, a chance to act. They move in cautiously, coordinated, and calm. A brief scuffle follows as one officer steps forward with a ballistic shield while another sweeps the knife from Pierce's grasp. The blade clatters against the concrete, skidding a few feet away before an officer kicks it clear. With the knife removed, they immediately move in securing Pierce's wrists and lowering him gently to the ground. The footage shows the urgency in their movements, the quick shift from confrontation to care. Officers kneel beside him, checking his pulse, their flashlights illuminating streaks of blood on his shirt and the pavement. One voice cuts through the background noise, steady and compassionate. "Stay with us, Nick. We've got medics coming. Just hold on." The tone has changed, no longer commands, but concern. Within moments, Louisville EMS paramedics rush in, guided by the flashlight beams and the officers' calls. They take over medical care, unpacking trauma kits, checking vitals, and applying pressure to Pierce's wounds. The Bodycam captures the blur of latex gloves, gauze, and flashing red lights reflecting off the ambulance's hood. Pierce is lifted onto a stretcher and wheeled toward the waiting ambulance. Officers step aside, their faces illuminated briefly by the red glow before the doors close and the siren fades into the distance. By dawn, Crawford Avenue is still again. Crime scene tape flutters weakly in the breeze. The front yard, once filled with light, noise, and shouting, now stands silent except for the faint hum of idling patrol cars. Only chalk outlines, spent casings, and a streak of blood near the driveway remain quiet. reminders of how quickly a call for assistance can spiral into tragedy. Another Louisville morning begins, ordinary once more, but marked by the memory of a night when a simple theft report ended with the sound of gunfire and the weight of irreversible decisions.
Good big guy. Hey, listen, buddy, I got a handcuff. Keep your hands off. What the hell's your problem? Help me! Brian, relax.
Los Angeles, California, the 1st of March 2024. It's late afternoon, around 4 p.m., when a call comes over Central Traffic Division's radio. Ambulance traffic collision, North Alameda Street, and the 101 freeway. 2 uniformed CTD officers respond immediately. The location is busy, an interchange where downtown's heavy traffic merges toward the freeway. On arrival, Bodycam footage shows a damaged vehicle positioned awkwardly near the off-ramp, paramedics already on scene. The driver, Brian Goldberg, appears disoriented and visibly injured. His face and head bear signs of impact swelling, small cuts, blood across his forehead. Officers conduct a standard check, verifying his license, observing his behavior, and soon detect clear indicators of impairment. They request a field sobriety assessment while paramedics continue treatment. Within minutes, the situation is classified as a felony DUI with traffic collision. Goldberg is formally placed under arrest for DUI of drugs. As the scene clears, Los Angeles Fire Department rescue ambulance personnel load Goldberg onto a gurney for transport to a local hospital. He remains conscious, mumbling incoherently, but doesn't resist. The drive is calm. Body-worn camera audio records the muffled conversation between officers and paramedics, coordinating the next steps. We'll stay with him until he's medically cleared. Their destination, a downtown Los Angeles medical facility. The video resumes inside the hospital. It's a sterile, brightly lit corridor, nurses passing, machines humming faintly in the background. Brian Goldberg, still secured on the gurney, is being escorted down the hallway by 2 Central Traffic Division officers and LAFD medical staff. At first, he remains quiet, staring at the ceiling tiles above, but within seconds, his demeanor shifts. He begins thrashing, his voice rising. Bodycam footage captures officers attempting to calm him. Brian, stay still. You need to relax. You're almost there. Goldberg growls back, straining against the straps. He tries to lift himself off the gurney, his arms jerking upward. Officers immediately intervene. One moves to the side, pressing a hand against Goldberg's shoulder to keep him from sliding off. The other maintains verbal contact, repeating, "Sir, stop moving. Get back down. We're trying to help you." But Goldberg's resistance escalates. He shoves his upper body upright, twisting toward the officers, his voice slurred but aggressive. A paramedic steps back for safety. Goldberg's face contorts, his breathing heavy. Then he lunges forward, attempting to bite one of the officers on the forearm. The sudden motion triggers a categorical use of force response. Bodycam footage shows one officer immediately placing a clenched hand against Goldberg's throat area, pushing him back down onto the gurney. The movement is swift, controlled, not a strike, but an effort to subdue. Goldberg thrashes again, trying to twist free. The same officer then shifts his grip, placing an open hand around Goldberg's neck, holding him momentarily until other personnel assist in restraining him. Commands continue in rapid succession. "Stop resisting. Settle down, sir. You're in custody." Within moments, Goldberg stops fighting. He exhales sharply, his body going still. Once Goldberg is restrained, officers step back, giving the medical team space to move in and reassess his condition. Bodycam footage captures one paramedic leaning over, checking his pulse, and confirming in a calm voice that he is alert and responsive. The sterile hum of hospital equipment fills the background as officers explain to nearby staff he became combative, attempted to bite us. Force was used to control him. Despite the brief struggle, Goldberg shows no signs of additional trauma. His only visible injuries remain the facial wounds sustained earlier in the traffic collision. Medical staff resume treatment while the officers stand nearby, watchful but composed, ensuring both patient and personnel safety. Their report later notes that the use of force was necessary and proportionate, intended solely to prevent further assault. Goldberg stays handcuffed to the gurney for precaution as doctors continue evaluating his head trauma and overall condition. Within the hour, he's medically cleared and formally released back into police custody, escorted under standard protocol. No officers, paramedics, or hospital staff are injured during the encounter, a rare outcome in such volatile conditions. Later that evening, Central Traffic Division supervisors arrive to document the incident in full. They review the officer's body cam footage frame by frame, corroborate paramedic statements, and confirm the sequence of events. Arrest for felony DUI following a collision, transport to hospital for medical clearance, aggressive behavior, and attempted assault on officers. Categorical use of force to gain compliance. The case is formally logged under LAPD administrative review, triggered by the use of a temporary neck control hold captured on video. Investigators conclude that no excessive force occurred. The restraint was brief, measured, and discontinued immediately once Goldberg complied. By midnight, the official report is finalized. Suspect sustained only pre-existing injuries from collision. No additional harm caused during restraint. The hospital corridor grows quiet again. The rhythmic squeak of wheels fades. Nurses resume rounds, and the incident dissolves back into routine. Outside, under the soft amber glow of the emergency bay lights, another CTD unit idles. Goldberg is wheeled out on the same gurney, head wrapped in white bandages, wrists cuffed to the rails, escorted by the same officers who had pulled him from the wrecked vehicle hours earlier. The night ends as it began procedural, controlled, and recorded another case added to departmental review, later studied as a model for handling combative suspects during medical transport. Brush Prairie, Washington, the 20th of February 2024. A quiet afternoon in rural Clark County turns tense when dispatchers receive a 911 call from a concerned daughter. She reports that she just spoke to her mother, but something about the call was deeply wrong. Her mother, she says, didn't sound like herself. The call had come from a male family member's phone, and the daughter fears the worst. She tells dispatchers her mother may be being held hostage, adding a chilling detail: there are guns everywhere. Clark County Sheriff's deputies are dispatched immediately. The address leads them to a remote property in Brush Prairie, where an RV sits parked beside a rural home, surrounded by trees and open land. As the first units arrive, deputies coordinate over the radio. Possible hostage situation. Female inside, armed male subject on scene. Bodycam footage begins rolling as deputies approach cautiously, forming a perimeter around the RV. They can see movement inside. Moments later, a man steps out, later identified as 3-year-old Jonathan Gale. The deputies begin giving clear commands. "Sir, step away from the RV. Keep your hands where we can see them." Gale doesn't comply right away. He stands near the door, his hands hovering uncertainly near his waist. Deputies continue to issue warnings, voices raised but controlled. Bodycam footage captures the crucial seconds as Gale suddenly reaches toward his waistband. An officer shouts, "He's reaching. Watch his hands." In an instant, deputies back away and open fire. Gunfire echoes through the open field, the sharp cracks reverberating across the property. Gale drops instantly, collapsing to the ground near the doorway. For a brief moment, silence follows, only broken by the deputies' urgent commands. "Drop the gun. Don't move. If you reach for it, force is going to be used against you." As the dust settles, bodycam footage reveals a handgun lying just inches from Gale's right hand. Deputies maintain distance, holding their weapons trained until they're certain the threat has ended. Seconds later, they move in securing the firearm and checking for movement. They quickly discover that Gale is critically injured. A deputy calls out, "Start medical. Suspect down. Gun recovered." Within moments, officers begin first aid, applying pressure to his wounds. The situation shifts from confrontation to crisis response. Paramedics are called in, but despite their efforts, Jonathan Gale is pronounced dead at the scene. Nearby, deputies locate the female victim, the mother, from the original 911 call. She is visibly shaken but alive. She's transported to a local hospital for evaluation and treatment. No deputies are injured during the incident. As the scene stabilizes, detectives from the Clark County Sheriff's Office, Major Crimes Unit, and the Washington State Patrol arrive to begin the formal investigation. The property, once filled with chaos and movement, now hums with quiet urgency. Floodlights cast long shadows across the wet gravel as deputies carefully mark shell casings, photograph the RV from multiple angles, and recover several firearms scattered around the yard. Every step is deliberate gloved hands, steady voices, flashlights slicing through the dark. What they find next shocks even veteran investigators. Inside Gale's RV are 10 improvised explosive devices, each one carefully wrapped, wired, and positioned throughout the confined space. The discovery forces everyone on scene to pause. Even seasoned detectives, accustomed to violent crime scenes, recognize the magnitude of what's in front of them. Nearby, they also locate multiple firearms and over 1,000 rounds of ammunition, some boxed, others loosely scattered on the floor. The evidence confirms what deputies feared, that this wasn't simply a domestic disturbance, but a potential disaster narrowly avoided. A single spark, a single wrong move could have ended the night very differently. Evidence technicians move cautiously through the RV, cataloging every device, weapon, and component for removal. The area is immediately sealed off as the bomb squad arrives, methodically assessing and neutralizing the explosives one by one. Outside, detectives begin reconstructing the timeline using bodycam footage and witness statements. They review each moment. The initial 911 call from the daughter, reporting her mother's strange and erratic behavior. The deputy's careful approach to the property, Gale's repeated refusal to comply, and and the sudden motion toward his waistband that triggered the deputy's split-second decision to fire. Every frame of video is analyzed, each action matching department policy for confronting an armed and non-compliant suspect posing an imminent threat. Later that night, under the pale glow of floodlights, the Clark County Sheriff's Office issues a brief statement to the public. Deputies responded to a possible hostage situation involving an armed suspect. The suspect ignored multiple commands, reached for a firearm, and was struck by deputies' gunfire. The suspect was pronounced deceased at the scene. A female victim was rescued and transported for medical care. No deputies were injured. The ongoing investigation confirms Gale possessed 2 firearms during the incident, one found near his body and another inside the RV. By the time the last evidence bag is sealed, the property is quiet again. Yellow tape cordons off the area, and rain begins to fall steadily, pooling beneath the flashing red and blue lights that reflect off the slick ground. For the deputies, the incident is both tragic and sobering, a single moment of motion that turned a tense standoff into a life and death encounter. And for investigators, the discovery of the cache inside Gale's RV underscores how close this call came to becoming something far worse, a night that could have ended not with a controlled scene, but with an explosion echoing through the Washington countryside. Escondido, California, Friday, the 3rd of November 2023. It's just after 6:40 a.m., the early morning quiet broken by a call to Escondido Police Dispatch. The report comes from a mobile home park in the 2500 block of East Valley Parkway. The caller explains that a male subject, later identified as 8-year-old Douglas Quinn, is sleeping in a sleeping bag on a porch where he doesn't belong. Dispatchers record the concern, classifying it as a suspicious person call. As officers begin to roll out, the call is updated. The man has now gotten up and is pushing a blue motorcycle through the mobile home complex. The new information shifts the tone. What began as a welfare check now carries signs of possible theft or trespassing. At approximately 6:50 a.m., 2 Escondido police patrol officers locate a man matching the description. Bodycam footage shows Quinn walking along the narrow path between mobile homes, pushing the blue motorcycle slowly beside him. The officers approach carefully, maintaining distance. Their tone is calm, conversational. "Hey man, can we talk to you real quick?" Quinn stops and looks over. His demeanor appears casual but guarded. The conversation continues as officers begin asking basic questions: his name, where he's staying, whether the motorcycle belongs to him. He answers, though not clearly, and provides limited details. Then, one of the officers runs a records check based on the information Quinn gives. Within seconds, dispatch confirms he's got a felony warrant, parole violation, out of Indiana. The officers now know they're dealing with a wanted fugitive. The tone changes instantly. Bodycam footage shows one officer step closer, positioning himself to detain Quinn. The atmosphere tightens, voices lower, body language shifts. He informs him calmly, "Douglas, you've got a warrant. We're going to have to talk about that. Don't run." But Quinn doesn't respond. His eyes dart briefly toward the streetlights, scanning the open space ahead. He hesitates for a moment, shoulders tense, then suddenly turns and bolts. Both officers react immediately, shouting, "Stop." Police. As they give chase, Quinn reaches into his waistband with his right hand. The motion is quick, deliberate, unmistakable. One officer shouts, panic cutting through his voice. He's reaching. He's got something. The next seconds unfold in chaos. Both officers return fire, discharging multiple rounds in rapid succession. The bursts of light flash in the dim air before Quinn is struck and falls near a cluster of bushes, collapsing beside the motorcycle he had been pushing only moments earlier. The air goes still for a heartbeat. Then another voice yells, "Show me your hands." But Quinn isn't done. Bodycam footage shows him rolling over, the handgun still clutched in his grip. He raises it again, pointing toward the officers. A second volley of gunfire follows, more controlled but equally intense, as one officer fires several additional rounds. Then, silence. The officers hold position, weapons trained forward, shouting repeated commands through the echo. Drop the gun. Do not move. When Quinn finally stops moving, they begin to advance cautiously, flashlights steady on his hands. One officer keys his radio, voice measured but strained. Shots fired, suspect down. Need medical and additional units. Backup units and paramedics rush to the scene, their sirens echoing off the nearby houses as flashing lights fill the narrow street. Bodycam footage shows the officers carefully approaching Quinn's position near the bushes, weapons drawn but movements controlled. The firearm lies a few feet from his outstretched hand, partially covered by dirt and grass. One officer steps forward, kicking the weapon safely out of reach, while another moves in to secure Quinn's hands. Immediately, they begin life-saving measures. CPR is initiated on the ground, compressions steady and urgent as other officers set up a perimeter and clear the area. The sound of labored breathing and radio traffic mixes with the faint hum of idling patrol cars. Dispatch updates over the radio. Subject is in custody. CPR in progress. Medics en route. Paramedics from the Escondido Fire Department arrive within minutes, their gear already in hand. They take over care, continuing resuscitation efforts with oxygen and defibrillator pads before loading Quinn onto a stretcher. The ambulance doors close, lights flaring red and white as it speeds toward a nearby hospital. Despite all attempts to save him, 8-year-old Douglas Quinn is pronounced deceased shortly after arrival. At the scene, detectives begin the standard investigation protocol. Evidence markers are placed across the dirt path, each casing, blood pattern, and footprint documented under the rising Sunday. The recovered handgun rests inside an evidence bag, tagged and photographed. Initial reports confirm that Quinn fired multiple rounds at officers before being struck. Neither officer sustained any injury during the exchange. A search of the immediate area confirms the presence of the blue motorcycle Quinn had been pushing, still lying on its side near the bushes where the confrontation ended. Investigators later note that the firearm recovered beside him was loaded and functional. The sequence of events is verified through body-worn camera footage and dispatch recordings, outlining each moment with precision. 6:40 a.m., call of a man sleeping on a porch. 6:50 a.m. officers locate the suspect pushing a motorcycle. Officers identify a felony parole warrant. Quinn flees, draws a handgun, and opens fire. Officers return fire, striking the suspect. Medical aid rendered. Suspect later pronounced deceased. As daylight spreads across East Valley Parkway, yellow crime scene tape stretches around the narrow drive between homes. Detectives collect evidence methodically, cameras flashing in the soft morning light, while residents watch silently from their porches, the sound of radios breaking the stillness. For the officers, the morning began as a routine suspicious person call and ended in gunfire within minutes. The official report closes with confirmation. No officers were injured or struck by gunfire. The suspect, identified as 8-year-old Douglas Quinn, was pronounced deceased. A firearm was recovered at the scene.
Problem?
Reno, Nevada, the 6th of December, 2023. It's 10:45 a.m. on a cold winter morning when the Reno Police Department's dispatch center begins receiving frantic 911 calls. On the other end of the line, a terrified woman screams for help. She tells operators that a man inside her home is killing another woman. The address comes through clearly.
Address confirmed,
The 500 block of Colorado River Boulevard. Multiple callers confirm hearing, screaming, and crashing noises from inside the same residence. Patrol units are immediately dispatched, code 3. The dispatcher's tone grows urgent. All units respond priority, one possible domestic assault in progress. Reports of a woman screaming for help. Within minutes, officers arrive in the quiet residential neighborhood. The street is lined with single-story homes, their front lawns blanketed with frost. Neighbors peek from behind curtains as sirens echo in the distance. As the first officer steps out of his patrol vehicle, the faint sound of yelling carries through the crisp morning air. The body cam records steady breathing as he approaches the house cautiously. He announces himself loudly. Reno police, come to the door. There's no immediate response, only muffled movement inside. Then, through the front window, the officer catches a glimpse of a male figure pacing near the entryway. That man is 4-year-old Caleb Briggs. The officer calls out again, giving clear commands to show hands. Instead of complying, Briggs moves partially out of sight, his right arm drawn behind his back. The officer repeats, louder now. Let me see your hands. Step outside now. But Briggs doesn't respond. He stands in the doorway, staring, breathing heavily. For a few tense seconds, the two lock eyes, one cautious, the other agitated. The silence is broken only by the officer's calm but firm voice repeating the command. Then, suddenly, Briggs steps forward. His body language shifts tense shoulders, quick movements. The officer senses the situation escalating. He radios in a quick update. Dispatch, I've got a male at the front door, not complying. He's got one hand behind his back. Backup units accelerate toward the scene, lights flashing. But before they arrive, everything changes in a matter of seconds. Briggs takes 2 steps forward, then charges. The camera jolts as the officer tries to backpedal. Stop, get back, he shouts, but Briggs doesn't stop. He lunges, closing the distance in an instant, slamming into the officer. The 2 men crash into the doorway, knocking over a small table. The struggle is violent and chaotic, body cam shaking as both tumble into the narrow entryway. Briggs, still with one hand hidden, begins grappling for the officer's weapon. The officer shouts again, his voice strained. Stop! Stop fighting me! Briggs's hand grips at the officer's gun belt. A metallic scrape sounds he's trying to pull the firearm from its holster. The officer manages to twist his hips, using his body weight to keep the weapon secured. He pushes Briggs back against the wall. attempting to create distance. Outside, another officer pulls up, hearing the commotion from the open front door. The first officer shouts for help. "He's going for my gun." He's trying to take it. The second officer rushes forward, but before he can reach the doorway, the fight surges again. Briggs throws a punch, knocking the first officer sideways into a piece of furniture. There's a brief pause. The body cam shows the officer regaining footing, drawing his weapon in one motion. Briggs steps forward again, his face twisted with rage. "Don't do it," the officer yells. The officer fires 2 shots in rapid succession. The sound reverberates through the hallway, sharp, concussive, final. Briggs stumbles, turns slightly, and collapses in the doorway, half inside, half outside the house. His body falls still. The officer backs away to a safe distance, his weapon still trained forward. Breathing heavily, he radios in. "Shots fired. Suspect down. Need medical now." The second officer enters carefully, kicking a nearby object aside and moving to secure the scene. Together, they check Briggs for any remaining threat before holstering their weapons. Seconds later, additional patrol units arrive, sirens fading as they cut engines and rush toward the front yard. Officers move quickly to secure the perimeter, directing neighbors to stay indoors. A crime scene line is established across the street. Inside the doorway, 2 officers begin performing first aid. They apply pressure to the gunshot wounds, working rapidly while one keeps communication with dispatch open. 2 shots fired, suspect down, pulse weak, need paramedics at this address immediately. The room is quiet, except for the sound of strained breathing and the hiss of the police radio. The floor beneath Briggs is stained with blood, sunlight filtering through the open door onto the scene. Within minutes, Reno Fire Department paramedics arrive. Officers step back to allow them space. They begin advanced life-saving measures, chest compressions, oxygen, trauma dressings. But despite the effort, Briggs's pulse fades. He's loaded onto a gurney and rushed to the hospital in critical condition. At the Reno Medical Center, doctors work for nearly an hour, but the injuries are too severe. 4-year-old Caleb Briggs is pronounced dead. Back on Colorado River Boulevard, the house is now an active crime scene. Detectives from the Reno Police Department Major Crimes Unit arrive alongside Washoe County crime scene technicians. They begin photographing every angle: the bloodstains, the scuffed walls, the overturned furniture from the struggle. Forensic specialists recover 2 shell casings near the entryway, marking them with evidence tags. Neighbors gather quietly behind police tape, recounting what they heard: the screaming, the shouting, then the unmistakable gunfire. One resident tells reporters, "It was chaos. We heard a woman yelling for help, then sirens, then 2 shots. It all happened so fast." Inside the home, detectives interview the original 911 caller, the woman who reported the attack. She's shaken but alive. Through tears, she explains that Briggs had assaulted another woman inside the house, prompting her to flee and call for help. Investigators piece together the timeline. The first call came at 10:45 a.m., reports of a violent assault. Officers arrived minutes later, attempted de-escalation, and were met with resistance. Briggs's aggression and attempt to seize the officer's firearm led to the fatal encounter. By afternoon, the Washoe County Coroner's Office confirms Briggs's identity and begins the autopsy. Detectives seize the officer's weapon for standard ballistic testing. Later that evening, the Reno Police Department holds a press briefing. a spokesperson outlines the sequence of events clearly. The officer's actions were justified and consistent with Nevada state law and departmental policy. The use of deadly force was a direct response to an immediate and lethal threat. For the officers who responded,
Even a simple
it was
call can
another
change
grim
everything.
reminder that even calls for help can turn deadly in seconds. A domestic violence report became a fight for survival. One officer attacked, one suspect dead, and a neighborhood left shaken by the violence that unfolded behind a quiet suburban door. By winter's end, the 500 block of Colorado River Boulevard has returned to its normal rhythm, children playing, cars passing, morning deliveries resuming. But for the officers involved, the memory of that day lingers. The screams over the radio, the sudden charge at the door, the sound of 2 gunshots in a narrow hallway. It remains a case study in how quickly a call for help can collapse into chaos and how a few desperate seconds can change lives forever. Frederick, Maryland. The 11th of February, 2022. It's just after 12:45 p.m. when the calm of an ordinary Friday afternoon is shattered by a call to the Frederick Police Department. Dispatch receives a 911 report describing a man sitting on an electrical box with a gun near the intersection of Waverly Drive and Key Parkway. The caller sounds nervous, her voice trembling as she describes what she sees. He's just sitting there, with a handgun, not moving much, just staring. The dispatcher immediately sends out a firearms complaint alert. 2 patrol units acknowledge within seconds. Responding are Officer Kristen Kowalski, a 9-year veteran, and Officer Brian Snyder, who has served with Frederick Police for 2 years. Both are trained in high-risk response and coordinate over radio en route. Copy will approach from opposite ends of Waverly. Dashcam footage shows traffic moving slowly under a bright midday Sunday. Pedestrians walk along the sidewalks, unaware of the danger about to unfold, just blocks away. When officers arrive, they quickly locate the man described as 27-year-old Demink Lamar Lewis. He's seated casually atop a metal electrical box, one leg dangling, his gaze unfocused. In his lap, the unmistakable outline of a .45 caliber handgun glints faintly in the light. The officers position themselves strategically, maintaining distance while issuing commands. "Sir, drop the gun. Show me your hands." Lewis doesn't respond. His head tilts slightly, but his eyes remain fixed somewhere beyond the officer's, distant, detached. Kowalski's voice grows firmer, echoing off nearby buildings. Frederick Police put the weapon down and step away. Still, no movement. Lewis sits motionless for several seconds, then, slowly, stands up, clutching the gun loosely at his side. Both officers take cover behind their patrol cars, maintaining visual contact. Snyder radios, "Dispatch, we've got eyes on the suspect armed, non-compliant, requesting backup." The air grows tense. A few nearby pedestrians begin to notice and retreat toward safety. Lewis takes a few steps backward, away from the officers, as if about to leave the area. But suddenly, he stops, his shoulders tighten. He turns sharply, raising his arm. Without warning, Lewis opens fire. A thunderous crack breaks the silence, then another and another. The rounds echo through the suburban corridor, punching into the patrol cars. Kowalski ducks behind the front fender, shouting, "Shots fired! Shots fired!" Both officers return fire instinctively, their Glock pistols snapping in controlled bursts. Glass shatters. Spent casings bounce against the pavement. Bodycam footage captures flashes of muzzle light and shouted commands between shots. "Get down! He's firing at us." Lewis, standing exposed near the electrical box, continues shooting until one of the officer's rounds finds its mark. He staggers, but keeps firing, determined and erratic. Then silence. Lewis collapses forward, the handgun slipping from his grasp onto the ground. The officers move cautiously, guns still trained forward. Kowalski calls for immediate medical response. Suspect down. We need EMS, multiple injuries. But both officers are also wounded. In the chaos, Lewis's bullets have struck them. Kowalski in the side, Snyder in the arm. Despite their injuries, they move to secure the weapon, kicking it out of reach before collapsing to the ground beside their patrol cars. Backup units arrive within minutes, sirens screaming through the tight residential streets. Paramedics from Frederick County EMS rush in, guided by officers waving from the intersection. Within moments, all three, Lewis, Kowalski, and Snyder, are surrounded by medics. Tourniquets are applied, bandages wrapped, and oxygen masks fitted. A paramedic radios the hospital. We have 3 gunshot victims, 1 suspect, 2 officers, all critical but breathing. Residents gather behind police tape, whispering in disbelief. The quiet Maryland street is now littered with shell casings, blood trails, and shattered glass. Air support is called. A Maryland State Police helicopter lands in a nearby field to transport the wounded. Kowalski and Snyder are airlifted first flown to the University of Maryland Shock Trauma Center in Baltimore. Lewis follows moments later, escorted under police supervision. By late afternoon, Frederick's police chief holds a brief press conference, confirming what many already know. 2 officers have been injured in an exchange of gunfire, and the suspect is in custody alive, but in critical condition. At the hospital, doctors operate for hours. The trauma ward hums with controlled chaos, medical teams calling out vitals, stretchers rolling through swinging doors, and monitors pulsing with sharp, rhythmic tones. Officers and paramedics stand quietly in the hallway, uniforms stained with blood and sweat, their faces pale under fluorescent lights. By nightfall, all 3, Snyder, Kowalski, and Lewis, are stabilized. Word spreads quickly through the department, and the community breathes a cautious sigh of relief. Outside, patrol units line the parking lot in silence, headlights off, radios muted. The only sound is the low rumble of idling engines and the occasional rustle of wind against the flags flying at half-mast. The following morning, internal investigators begin piecing together what happened. Inside the Frederick Police Department, a dedicated incident room is set up. Photos of the crime scene pinned across a whiteboard, shell casings mapped out, and Bodycam footage queued for review. The recovered weapon, a .45 caliber handgun, is logged, dusted for prints, and sent for ballistic testing. Results confirm the gun fired multiple rounds toward the officers before they returned fire, each casing matching precisely to the weapon recovered beside Lewis. Detectives begin interviewing witnesses. Several residents report seeing Lewis in the hours before the shooting, pacing near Waverly Drive with erratic movements, muttering to himself, waving his hands toward the street, staring into passing headlights. One witness says she thought he was talking to someone invisible. Another recalls the chilling calm just before the first shots rang out. In the days that follow, both officers begin the slow process of recovery. Officer Snyder, struck in the arm, undergoes several procedures and faces months of physical therapy before returning to duty. His partner, Officer Kowalski, suffers deeper wounds, the bullet grazing his torso and fracturing 2 ribs, but doctors confirm his prognosis as serious, yet non-fatal. Their families remain constantly at the hospital, surrounded by fellow officers and community members, offering quiet support. 3 weeks later, investigators release the official timeline, a minute-by-minute reconstruction based on dispatch audio, surveillance, and body-worn camera footage. 12:45 p.m. 911 call reports an armed man near Waverly Drive. 12:49 p.m. Officers arrive on scene and locate Lewis walking along the curb. 12:51 p.m. Verbal commands issued repeatedly but ignored. 12:53 p.m. Lewis opens fire, striking both officers. 12:54 p.m. Officers return fire, subduing the suspect. 12:56 p.m. EMS arrives on scene. Medevac requested for all parties. The incident is officially ruled a line-of-duty shooting, with both officers' actions deemed justified under Maryland law. Reports highlight that their response adhered to use of force policy, demonstrating measured decision-making under extreme stress. But for investigators, case doesn't end there. Months later, after his recovery and medical clearance, Dominic Lamar Lewis is formally taken into custody. Prosecutors file multiple felony charges: attempted murder of law enforcement officers, first-degree assault with a firearm, and reckless endangerment. The courtroom fills with officers, reporters, and members of the community when his arraignment is announced. During court proceedings, Lewis's defense presents a stack of mental health records detailing years of treatment for schizophrenia and delusional psychosis. His attorney argues that Lewis's perception of reality was fractured at the time of the incident, that he believed the officers were part of an imagined threat. The court orders a comprehensive psychological evaluation, assigning forensic psychiatrists to assess his mental state during and after the shooting. Weeks later, investigators obtain a recorded phone call between Lewis and his grandfather from inside the Frederick County Adult Detention Center. In the audio, Lewis's tone is flat, detached, devoid of remorse. He simply says, "I don't care about the officers." For detectives who had risked their lives pulling him from the ground and calling medics, the words are chilling. The recording becomes part of the case file, not as evidence of guilt, but as a window into a disturbed mind. After months of psychiatric evaluations, the court reaches a final conclusion. Dominic Lamar Lewis is found guilty, but not criminally responsible for the shooting. He is transferred from the county jail to a secure forensic mental health facility under indefinite commitment. There, treatment replaces punishment, and his future rests in the hands of psychiatrists and judges who will determine whether he ever regains freedom. For the department, the ruling closes one of the most difficult cases in recent memory, a case that left 2 officers wounded, a suspect alive but broken, and a community reminded of the unpredictable danger officers face every day. What began as a routine call on a quiet Maryland afternoon ended in seconds of gunfire, years of recovery, and a lifelong question of what could have been prevented